Hi, welcome back to Quinwapa Creations tutorial videos. Today I'm going to show how I do a beaded Christmas ornament. I use some size 11 seed beads and a size 11 John James beading needle and my nylon Nymo beading thread. I have some bells that I use at the end of the fringes. So I start with a Christmas ball, the size that I want, and we're going to take the top off, and that's where we'll put the beads on. Just remove the top, and then you're going to create the beaded shell with the circle large enough to fit over the attachment hole. Not sure what to call it. And then you just place the top back on, and you're going to make the circle go around. And I put certain colored beads all the way around, and those are what I use to guide me, register points of where I'm going to attach the next row. So once the first row is done, I'm gonna put on increase the beads and put on another row using those different colored beads that I spaced out on that first row. And it begins to start widening out because you're increasing the beads, the amount of beads you're putting on to go around. So that's how it will be able to fit over the Christmas ball, because you're increasing each row as you attach it and just putting it through that bead. I left the beginning as a long tail. Makes it easier to pull the beads tighter, and you'll take care of that tail when you're finished with the whole ball. And when you get to the end of the row, you're going to go through that one bead and then go all the way to the end, to the bead you put in the middle of that second row, because you're going to put the design of beads with the bead in the spot where it's right in the middle of the next row, so that you know that's where you're going to come out and attach the third row to it. So you're coming out at that spot where you want to start that next row, and then you'll put on a pattern and giving that middle bead there, or marking it however you want, that's the bead you'll attach the next row to when you continue on, and just making sure that you're increasing each row so that it widens out to cover the whole entire ball. And then going back, when you get to the end of the row, going back all the way down through that first section of that first loop, and coming out through that middle bead of the design where you'll be attaching the next row to. And remembering to increase so that it continues to grow and will get larger as it goes down the ball. The next row has that pattern with that bead mark and bead in the middle. That's all the way around to the next row. I don't plan out my design when I usually do it. I just pick the colors that I want to use in the Christmas ball and let the design just kind of take its own form. But I'm sure that you could plan it if you wanted to. Just kind of letting I just let the beads just fall into place. Like I said, I don't plan what I'm gonna do. I just make sure I have that marking bead in the center that the next row will attach to. Being sure I'm increasing enough to go over the outside of that ball and lay nice. And then getting to the end of that row, I just go through that bead, that first marker bead, and all the way down through the one side of the loop and come out with that marker bead in the position to start the next row. Really basically simple, just being able to get those rows increased as you go to go over to the ball so that it lays flat. On the next row, I added a few extra markers. Increasing that design. Getting that to lay nice around the ball. And then I use bugle beads on this ball. And then now you're going to attach the fringes. That's why I put some extra markers in that last row. Because when I hang the fringes, I want more fringes hanging than I had loops coming down, so that the fringes would be more full around the ball. Put 5 beads on a time, and then I'm put 6 of my white that were on the end, attach the bell, and use the 6 bead as the bead I will go back up through to secure it to that bell. But I'm not going back up through the beads. I'm going to make another design set to go back up, and then we'll go through one of those, the next marker that was on that I put on that last row. Like I said, I put extra marker beads in there so that I could put more fringe on than the few loops that were hanging. And then the bells will hang down even. So basically you're just doing that same thing all the way around, putting the 5 beads on at a time of each color. The white at the bottom were 6, using that one last bead as the bead to go back up through. And then once I get to the end, I'm going to weave my needle and thread all the way back up through the ball, through the beads, the beadwork all the way to the top. I kind of just weave it diagonal and follow the beads in a diagonal row all the way up to the top. That is just going to secure that thread and keep it from unraveling at any point. So just continuing up through. Working my needle back through. There might be some spots where it's a little tight. I just use my needle nose pliers to pull the needle through, and it should come through fairly easy. And once I get it up to the top, kind of come up where that tail is hanging, and tie a knot between the thread I just brought up and the tail that was left. Kind of make sure it's kind of buried into in between the beads where it's at. And snip that off, and I'm going to use my lighter, because that nylon thread, when you burn it, it melts. The end will melt into a ball, and it will just kind of meld together and keep there'll be a little ball in the end to keep it secure. And put the beadwork back over your Christmas ball and put the topper on to hang it on the tree, and it should fit right in to the beads. And that's pretty much basically it. And you have a beaded Christmas ball. And you can make any combination you want. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can stop by and join our Facebook group. Please answer all 3 questions, or I will not accept your request. Or you can go to my website, www.quinwapacreations.com. Thanks for stopping by. See you next time.